You've joined us for the Florida Lighthouse Show today, and I'm here with one of my best friends, Rob and Will, and we're at St. Mark's. St. Mark's is located on the Gulf Coast directly south of Tallahassee. The lighthouse was first lit in 1842, making it the third oldest lighthouse in the state. It is the most photogenic lighthouse in Florida because it is located deep inside the St. Mark's National Wildlife Refuge. Other than adding a paved road, the setting hasn't changed since it was built more than 180 years ago. For 40 years, Robin Will was the superintendent of the refuge. She and I got together recently on the porch of the lighthouse.
Everyone assumed that we owned the lighthouse. For the 40 plus years that I worked here, everyone said, so it's the St. Mark's National Wildlife Refuge lighthouse, right? No, it belongs to the Coast Guard. And we would say, is it open? Why don't you open it? What's wrong with you people? This is a beautiful lighthouse. We'd say, well, the Coast Guard tries to open it once a year. For years, we've been asking them, just transfer the lighthouse to us because we own everything out here except this little 3 acres and the building. And the building was falling down and the lighthouse was really going into disrepair. It's a privilege to me to work in wildlife and the hand of man and stewardship for wildlife, and now have a chance to be involved in the preservation of this historic building. I mean, that to me was a privilege. Yeah. So did I know a lot about it? No. Was I a historian? No. But I had really great people to help advise. You know, FLA weighed in way back in the day before we even got the lighthouse and supported the condition assessment that was done, a professional condition assessment. So that gave us a springboard to move forward when we actually got the lighthouse. I just had really wonderful people. I think I just was like, go, do good things. Go make it happen.
But you needed money.
Yes, we did. We had not a penny to our name, and Fish and Wildlife Service said, we're about wildlife. You know, this is really low on our priorities, so you guys are kind of on your own. And thank goodness we had people say, we're ready. We're going to do it. And the friends of the St. Mark's Wildlife Refuge came forward and said, we know you can't do this without us. It's got to be a partnership. And FLA was always there. Like you said, you mentioned they were supporting the weekend championship thing that we did. What was that called? It was
the challenge, the
lighthouse
challenge,
to climb
right?
As many lighthouses, go to as many lighthouses. So we were involved with that. And it was really great. And it brought a new awareness to people visiting that the refuge was taking responsibility for this incredible place. And I look at what we have now and what we had back then, and it's phenomenal.
So you requested the grant to have the assessment done.
Yes.
And historical engineer / architect came and did the assessment.
Correct.
And he gave you some bad news.
Yeah, everything was falling apart.
So you needed more money.
Yeah, we needed a lot more money.
And where did you come for that money?
Well, we came back to you guys, to Florida Lighthouse Association, and we went to the Division of Historical Resources, and Tom Baird wrote almost $750,000 worth of grants to DHR, and they came through too, and they realized what a landmark and an icon this is for the community. I look at it as the big picture, the hand of man. How do we impact our environment? And lighthouses impacted the environment. They saved people's lives. They directed ships up into rivers and estuaries, and they were a huge part of communication back in the day when they didn't have cell phones and everything that we have today. So I just look at the people enjoying visiting today. Thousands come now through the 3 days that they're open and tour this lighthouse. And they're fascinated with the lives of people that lived here remotely. The grants led us to so many discoveries.
Our organization sees it as a partnership, and I'll be honest with you, we partner with a lot of different organizations. In this case, we partner with the federal government. We have 3 other lighthouses in Florida that are part of the state park system. We've partnered with each one of those. It's about the lighthouse, and it's about the preservation of the lighthouse, and it's about making them so that future generations can enjoy it. And that's the way we look at it.
Right. I think the romance of that isolationism, but also the grit that it took to be not just the lighthouse keeper, but the wife and the family, and how sometimes the lighthouse keeper disappeared for a while. Maybe he got sick. Maybe he went up the river and had to go do something that took days. And so the family then takes over and they have to know exactly what to do. So I'm impressed by the women that kept the light. We have several lighthouse keepers that were wives, that when their husbands passed away, they took over. I'm impressed because, you know, we don't talk a lot about that. So it's the people, to me, that bring this place alive. That's what I really get into.
Several years later, decision was made that the lighthouse itself, that the keeper's house needs to have a good museum inside of it.
Yes.
Tell me about the process for that.
So we kind of came up with an idea, let's make it look like it did when families lived here, but still put some interesting panels in. You guys ponied up another grant for us to go and purchase kind of in-kind antiques, and a lot of people said, oh, can I put my mom's cookbook in there? It's from my grandmother. Can I put, you know, Aunt Bill's apron in there? And can I bring down a chair that looks like Mr. Gresham's chair? And that's how we had that little setup over there that looks like where Mr. Gresham sat with his wife. So it was kind of a community thing, and I loved that. And we took assessment for about a year and said, what do you think of this? Is this too boring? And people were like, no, we love it because we feel like we're stepping into someone's home and what they're experiencing as lighthouse keepers. And I talked about people getting almost drowned and coming into the kitchen all sopping wet, and the lighthouse keeper's wife would have to fix them something hot to drink and dry their clothes. And you know, you kind of got that sense walking through these different rooms. So that was kind of fun. And I loved that part. When I started in the 70s, the bald eagle was still endangered. The American alligator was endangered. The brown pelican was on the endangered species list. So we're still learning about species that have recovered. I noticed a gator on the way down. I think I just saw a bald eagle fly over Lighthouse Pool there for a second.
But there were two up on the lantern room earlier today.
Okay.
We saw,
Awesome.
amazing.
I hope you got some pictures of that.
I think Brandon did.
Okay,
maybe.
Awesome. So being part of the Endangered Species Recovery Program of any of those species is huge for National Wildlife Refuge. Also, we're here for migratory waterfowl, and I think most of our ducks, unfortunately, have taken off already as it's gotten warm, but we have 2,000 acres of man-made impoundments just for waterfowl and wading birds and shorebirds. So to me, it's like an oasis. I look at Florida and how it's developed in the 40 years that I worked here, and I see such sweeping changes further south.
But not here.
But not here.
Yeah, this is still wild. This area of the state, they call it the Forgotten Coast.
Which is okay.
I'm okay with that.
Yes, but we have jewels like this jewel and St. George and Cape San Blas and a lot of these other lighthouses all the way to Pensacola that just are, I don't know, they're just like pearls in a necklace. They're so special. My passion still remains here. I think a piece of my heart is in this building and a piece of my heart's in this refuge.
You got blood in this thing.
I do. I do. I love this place and the people here that give all of their time and energy, and the folks that support us, our partners. You mentioned volunteers, and we have a phenomenal volunteer program that helps us do everything from tagging red-cockaded woodpeckers to scraping around trees for a fire to working down here. You saw Marianne in there and other people that come down and help and give of their time, and that is huge.
All of our organizations have huge volunteer groups that matter, and we call them heroes because that's what they are.
Yes.
And it's about preserving the heritage of the lighthouse and the material of the lighthouse for our descendants, for our children, grandchildren, and keeping it going.
Right, which is the mission of the Fish and Wildlife Service, to protect and enhance habitat for future generations. So here we are, including the history into that mission, which I think is a perfect match. I really do.
Thank you, Robin Will, retired superintendent of the St. Marks National Wildlife Refuge. Grants like the ones we discuss are made possible because of the Florida Specialty License Plate Program. Sale of these plates have allowed Florida Lighthouse Association to give more than $2.2 million to local preservation groups. We've partnered with federal, state, and local governments, as well as nonprofit museum groups to help preserve this heritage. If you like what you see, click the subscribe button. If you want to know more about FLA and the Visit Our Lights license plates, if you want to know more about the St. Mark's Refuge or want to visit the St. Mark's Lighthouse, links to both of those are in the comments section. Thank you for helping us keep the light shining.